a rematch of the NBA Finals. Both teams hoping that they can get back once again in June.
From the East come the Cavaliers, led by a man referred to as the King.
Nothing! Screen! Stay home!
Representing the best of the West, the Warriors are led by Stephen.
Oh! Stephen Curry with some magic! Yeah, boy! We're finished! The Golden State Warriors continue to write history.
A Christmas Day cornucopia of games starting at noon Eastern and headlined by the finals rematch between the champion Warriors and the Cavaliers from Oakland. And unlike the finals and most of the season so far, the Cavs are basically at full strength after the return of Kyrie Irving Saturday. Irving had 12 points, 4 assists, and 17 minutes of work in a blowout win over Philly. It was his first game action since Game 1 of the finals when he fractured his kneecap. David Blatt was thrilled with his star point guard's return.
We did have a specific idea of how we wanted to play him and how many minutes we wanted to play him. I purposely avoided telling you because I didn't want you coming at me at the end of the game, but I can tell you we were wildly successful in terms of the minutes that Kyrie played.
Easy to say that.
No reservations whatsoever about the fourth quarter because that was in the plan. And I'm happy to say that he came out feeling good and looking good.
And David Blatt's feeling a little better as well because the production from the point guard spot is likely to move north from 12.7 points per game with Mo Williams and Matthew Dellavedova taking over that role. Delly more of a defensive point guard, obviously. So what changes now, Sekou, for the Cleveland Cavaliers? They've been waiting for this moment when they have their big three together for a significant run between now and the playoffs.
Well, I mean, I think a lot changes for certain guys. The role for Kevin Love obviously changes a little bit with another superstar player on the floor, and the ball has to be shared. And I think you heard LeBron James talk about it, about wanting to make sure that Kevin Love was comfortable and that he was fully integrated into what they're doing offensively. That's going to take some work. That's going to take he and Kyrie both making a concerted effort to keep Kevin Love involved because with Kyrie, you're talking about a guy who needs to have the ball in his hands and needs to be able to create and control the action to be effective. And with LeBron, you know he has a penchant for always wanting to facilitate. Right. He's a great passer and get other guys going. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they manage that process.
Yeah, what about that whole notion that Kevin Love was going to be the focal point of the offense as we kept hearing?
Well, I mean, in the early part of the season, I don't think there was any question that they were trying to do that, Matt. That plan now pretty much out the window because Kyrie's going to be back. But I think the situation for Kyrie, and I made mention of this last night because we were here and we got a chance to see his debut, is I think Kyrie is a smart enough player to understand that for him and who he is, this is a great way to come back. You're a starter. You're playing with LeBron, who's going to draw double and triple teams. Kevin Love has played some pretty good basketball in the early part of the season. If Kyrie picks and chooses his spots to gain his rhythm back and his confidence back, Matt, waiting for passes, spotted up for three-point shots, and not forcing a lot of action to get himself into a great rhythm, that's going to help him first and foremost. After that, when we get 12 to 15 games in, his conditioning is there and he's feeling good. Guys are used to him being back on the floor and how he attacks and puts pressure on the opposing team's point guard. That's when David Blatt is going to have to start considering, how am I going to have two units? Which combinations of players are going to work best for me? So we're looking at maybe mid-January to late January where it is the Cleveland Cavaliers start to really take form and mold themselves into the kind of team that we think they'll be scary enough to represent the Eastern Conference with.
If Kyrie's healthy consistently through the rest of the season, can play regular minutes, how much does LeBron benefit from not having to shoulder so much the way we saw in the finals and the way we saw at the end of games this season?
I think it's a combination, though, Matt. We always want to talk about LeBron and his usage and how we want to see, or at least Cavs fans and the coaching staff probably want to see him not shoulder so much of the load. You're talking about last year's 9th leading scorer in the NBA, Kyrie Irving, at just a shade under 22 points a game. But it's a combination of their entire roster. It's Shumpert being back. It's J.R. Smith getting off of the shooting slump that he started this season off with. It's helping them find Mozgov in the middle, who's struggled this year, and maybe Kyrie creates a little more havoc to give him some early opportunities. Tristan Thompson getting maybe a few more minutes because that second unit's whole. All of that collectively will help the fact that LeBron James may need to not play as many minutes, even though he says, give me them all. You know, he wants to play them all.
Sure, keep saying that. I'm sure Blatt would love to give him a little rest here or there. marquee point guard matchup now with Irving out there. It's probably unfair to him. He's the second or, couple games into the season. But Curry, the undisputed MVP, a third of the way through the NBA season against Irving. What are you looking for?
Well, I mean, we were robbed of this matchup in the finals. We only got to see it for a few minutes before Kyrie Irving went down. And I really, this is one of those times where it's a measuring stick game for these guys. Kyrie and Steph Curry were teammates on the FIBA World Cup team in Spain. They come back into this season, they get a chance to really test themselves against each other on their respective teams. And what I love about it is they both are so creative with the ball. So it's going to be a dribbling expedition, and I just think where they go on the floor and where they get their shots is going to determine how their teams play in this game, because Kyrie is going to want to, on this big stage, get a chance to show everybody that he hasn't lost a step against the guy who's the undisputed MVP.
That's the point that I think Kyrie's smart enough to know, Christmas Day game aside, is just wait and kind of establish your rhythm for the season by being patient with it. That's what I hope he does.
Steph is obviously the guy on the marquee when the Warriors play, but Klay Thompson is on a year-end bucket blitz, averaging 27 points per on nearly 51% shooting so far in December. He's over 47% from three-point range this month. And fellas, over the weekend, when he was asked about the best two-guard in the game, he named himself. Your thoughts?
I really didn't hear the context of that, Matt, but I will say this. If you don't believe you're the best two-guard in the game, you're never going to be the best two-guard in the game. So I don't mind hearing Klay Thompson say that. The interesting talk about Klay Thompson was in the early part of the season, saying that he was really struggling, when he really wasn't. He wasn't getting as many shots because Steph Curry was just on such a tear. He was doing a great job still on the defensive end. And if you don't think that Klay Thompson is important to the Warriors, the streak ended because he was not at full strength going up against the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, he really struggled in that game because he was trying to play through his injury from a couple games before. So I don't mind Klay saying that one bit.
No, James Harden, Jimmy Butler might have something to say about that as well.
That question. It's got to be you. You got to say yourself. And I think you take that and put it into the bag with Steph Curry being the best point guard. And there's a very good argument you make that they're the best backcourt in the league.
So back to Curry.
Of course.
We're talking Klay, but it always comes back to Steph Curry. And you were watching over the weekend just how many different ways he can mess up another team.
Yeah, I think the talk was maybe 3 weeks ago just so much about what is Steph, who is Steph, what the heck is going on in the league. And you always think about how it is that Steph gets the job done. The first thing is he's just a great shooter. He's not going to miss open opportunities. Secondly, he's going to confuse his defense because of how he handles the ball and his off-ball movement. And then the defense is always reacting to where Steph's going. Everybody wants to help out the guy and not leave Steph out there to brutalize and embarrass the defender. Well, by doing that, Golden State moves their guys around, and they get easy opportunities.
That Cleveland game, the second of their final 5 of the season, all on their home floor, starting Wednesday against the Utah Jazz.